So it's been interesting couple of weeks for Tekken, hasn't it? No comment for now. Moving on. Anyway, let's get down to business. Okay, so the Pakistans and Arslan Ash have taken the Tekken community and fighting game communities and video games and turned it on top of their head. And it's been by far one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen. And in my opinion, somebody like Arslan Ash should get like Gamer of the Year for everything that they've done. But another thing that the Pakistans have done has also shown that arcades are not dead. And that people still want them. And I guarantee, and I bet the Koreans would tell you, if the Green Arcade was still open, they would still be going to it and playing there, because you cannot beat the practice that you get from that kind of tournament experience. But right now, arcades are dying. So, but to bring them back, we got to look at first why they failed. So let's get into that, and then I'm just going to share and show you how arcades can come back. And if I had the money, if I could invest in it, I would already do it. But I hope actually this video gets to the right people who can make this stuff happen, because it can happen and it should happen and it would be a good thing. But the reason why they failed. Okay, let's look at this from the business side of why arcades fail. Like, I looked up and I wanted to see how much a Tekken, like in the Green Arcade, how much like one of those Tekken 7 boosts would cost. And come to find out, just one of them cost around $11,000 to $18,000 just for one of them. That's ridiculous. And then an arcade would have to spend that kind of money. Let's just round it up and say like $20,000 at the most expensive. And an arcade would have to fill an entire room filled with $20,000 machines, right? Think about how many quarters have to go into something like that for it to be paid off, right? So they're spending like $20,000 on an arcade machine, and you can't update it. So like the updates that will come for Tekken 7 and the new characters, the Green Arcade could not update it. So how, and anybody who wants to practice for tournaments, you can't go there with all the constant updates that's going on nowadays, because what would happen is they'd have to keep buying that stuff. Now, you think about, let's see, they buy a bunch of units, and these people, they're trying to pay these units off, right? So they're trying to pay these units off. You can't update it. And what will happen is, after a couple of years, a new game will come out, and they have to start all over again. So your overhead's here, and you need to make a profit. Now, the profit also goes into paying for the building that the arcade's in, keeping the lights on, paying the employees, and then after that, the people who own it have to actually make money for themselves so they can buy a house, buy a car, buy food, take care of their family to make a living, right? The overhead and the cost just isn't worth it. And on top of that, Harada said a couple of weeks ago that why would Namco look into arcade stuff now when there isn't much profit for them? So this is why arcade's dying. But the thing about it is, people still want arcades. And we know that now because of Pakistan. And you got people like me going over there just to freaking train. And even now, you could go into Walmart. They're selling arcade units in Walmart around the United States. You can go to Walmart and buy arcade units. So people want it, but if somebody wanted to open an arcade, it's just not worth it. It's too much. It's doomed to fail. So, how would we get arcades back? It's the thing about the overhead is so much. First, you got to bring the overhead down. All right. So let me show you something. 2 jobs ago, here's my POS 4. I got this from a dude 2 jobs ago for $100. What happened is this thing stopped working, so he bought another PS4. But what he didn't know was the power supply that went out, so he hooked it up, and it worked, and we were talking about it, so he sold me this thing for $100. So, and then I just took my PS3 power supply, and I just plugged it in because, you know, they're interchangeable. So I got a POS for $100. Now my PS4 for $100 will play this game that on release date was like $60. It'll play this game, it'll do all the updates, it'll do all the characters and stuff like that, and then my friends can come over and they can bring their controllers and they can plug it into it, and we're all playing Tekken, the most updated, on a system that cost me $100. And you could get them used from people for like that, or even if you buy one brand new, it's only a couple $100, right? And then a couple months ago, my cousin who's in the Marine Corps had some leave, and he came over because he's in Camp Lejeune, which is only like 5 hours up the road. And then my niece came over, and he brought his Mortal Kombat, put it in this $100 piece of shit, and they were playing. I didn't play it, but I sat on the couch and giggled and watched them play. Played Mortal Kombat with all the updates and his controller and stuff like that. So I got a unit that's $100, and all I need is a TV and a power supply, and I'm playing it when an arcade is spending $10,000 to $20,000 for one unit. Doesn't make sense. And all I would have to do is build a box, because all this thing needs is a TV, an HDMI cable, and a power supply, and I'm playing Tekken. So all I would have to do is buy a box, then build a box with the TV and put my PlayStation in it, and then put this on it, and then I have an arcade thing, an arcade stand that probably I probably could do that for $1,000 or under for one unit, and then I could not only play my Tekken, but I could also do all the updates, and I could switch out the game whenever there's a new one for like $1,000. But if I built something like that and I sold it, let's say I sold it for $1,500, so I can make a little bit of profit off of it, right? And so now let's start thinking like this. If you had a unit that you could do a one-time buy on that works like a PlayStation, which shouldn't be too difficult to do, to where you can put the game in, get updates, and play it, and when new games come out, you switch it out. Instead of changing the entire unit, you do it one time, and the cost is low, so it gets paid off quickly, right? And the thing about it is like Namco wouldn't be really losing any money, because how much money is Namco making on arcades right now? Zero, because arcades are dying. But instead of them paying thousands of dollars for the game, I only paid $60 for this. Well, actually, my buddy, this was a gift from one of my buddies, but he paid $60. And this is the only Tekken I haven't bought. The rest I did, but I, bought all the updates and stuff like this. But if Namco would just sell this to an arcade, $60, and then the arcade would still just do the updates, that's still affordable, right? So now, if you do a unit that has these tools, and the tools you can actually interchangeable if it breaks, and they just buy one unit that can run the game exactly like PlayStation's at home, now the overhead is really far down. And now you can actually you can actually start making a profit off of it because the overhead's down, and also it'll keep the cost down for people to play this. Now let's say, let's say that you do this and you get a bunch of units, right? Now you can have having a handful that have like Tekken 7. You can even, Street Fighter can come along and play too. You can have a couple Street Fighter ones, and then like off in the corner with like trampolines and balls and basketballs and stuff like that, you can have the little section for the kiddies for Smash Brothers, and then in the corner with dust on it, you can have one for like Soul Calibur, if that's like even a thing anymore. But then get rid of the quarter system because that's outdated. What I would say is you make a unit, and also make a unit like in Tekken 5 where people can take their controllers from home, plug it in to the system so they can play with their controllers. You know, they have the option of playing with the stick that's there, or their controllers from home, so they could go home and practice on their same controllers. And now get rid of quarters because that's dinosaur. And what I would say is do something, and it shouldn't be more than this, lower if you can, like something like $5 for 30 minutes unlimited play, because kids could come up with $5. I mean, they skip one meal at disgusting McDonald's, and there you go. They could play for like half an hour on $5, and then like an hour for $10, and then make deals like 2 hours at $15 or $20 for 4 hours, unlimited play, all the machines. That will bring people back. And the thing I would say is, don't make an arcade just about the games. What I would do is take out those old, stupid, fucking disgusting arcade carpets that everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's the navy blue one with the, you know, really hyper colored yellow splatter paint and stuff like that. Get rid of that, get a nice floor in, nice environment. Half of it an arcade, the other half a cafe for people to hang out, because video games and hanging out go hand in hand, especially when there's like good food, and you put good food there. Like that way when people come to play the games, they can also hang out and get something to eat. And like if parents, they could get like, you know, get a cup of coffee, give their kids some money, and they could chill out while their kids go play video games. And now there's two reasons to go there: good food and a place to hang out and play video games, right? And so now, and also that's set up for like if cafes that are already set up want to add a section of an arcade, they could just go ahead and do that. But now the cost is down, and they can easily pay it off, and they'll be able to make their profits, right? They'll be able to pay for the buildings with that kind of stuff. They'll be able to pay for their employees. They'll also make a profit and stuff. So they could, make a life. Have cars and houses, take care, get food, go do things like that, because the cost is down, which will bring arcades back. And okay, so like Namco would be like, okay, because Harada was saying Namco, isn't making a profit, but the thing about it is, right now you're not making a profit, and I would pitch this to like the head guys at Namco that this should not go under the profit margin. This arcades, bring them back, because this goes under marketing. This is advertisement. Think of this as advertisement, not that you pay for it. So many companies spend so much money on marketing, but this is actually marketing that you will actually get paid for. You don't worry about the people who run in arcades. You let them make their profits, because what you get out of this is you get marketing. Not just marketing you have to pay for, which is extremely expensive. It's marketing you get paid for a little bit, because you're still selling this. Right? You're still selling this. And the thing about it is think about the Green Arcade. How much marketing, free marketing, did the Green Arcade do before Tekken 7 was released worldwide? Everybody, even me, was obsessed with matches being uploaded from that place. People were traveling all over the world to go to that place just to play Tekken 7. It did major marketing, but now, if you look at it like that and you keep the cost down just to sell the game like you do everybody else, you're still selling the game. But now what happens is in these spots where arcades start coming back alive, what it's going to do is it's going to bring more people together to play the game at arcades. And what that'll do, that'll attract new players. And new players, what they'll do is they'll see this game and they'll want to play it, and they'll find out how hype it is. And what they'll do is they'll go home, they'll buy the game, they'll get the DLCs, and you're going to just get more and more profit. It's free marketing. It's not just free marketing. You're getting paid for the marketing, and the marketing's doing it for you. And what it's going to do is it's also going to do the most powerful form of marketing that money cannot buy. Word of mouth. That's what arcades will do. And the thing about it is to start these things out, I would start putting it in high traffic area with low risk. Like this setup that I just said, where you make units that are low cost, that they can put the game in, they can update it, they can change the games, and have good food, and like a cafe / arcade, a place where people to come and hang out. You put one up there in California with all them fucking ding dongs. And hell, if you get enough good food, like some good soup, you might even get Eris out of his fucking dungeon away from them stoners to actually go to the arcade and hang out with his friends again. And fuck, I mean, if I'd like one close to me. I've been vegan 7 years. Better put some fucking vegetables and fruit in there, and I'll be there. But put one over there. Put one. Oh, and speaking of, I'm in North Carolina. My mom lives in Opelika, Alabama. It's a 5-hour trip, but on the way, 3 hours down the road is Atlanta. Like, I pass right through Atlanta going to my mom's house. I would stop off for like 30 minutes and play a couple rounds with Anakin. That'd be fun as fuck. Heck, on the way home from mom's, I'd probably stay a couple more hours and play and get something to eat. Actually, my game would probably make a trip just to go play at the arcades. And I'm not sure. I think, isn't Speed Kicks and Poke Chop around Atlanta area? If so, that'd be cool. I'd like to do a mirror match with Speed Kicks, and with Poke Chop, it'd be good to brush up on my shit-talking skills while I'm playing Tekken. That'd be fun. And then you put one in South America with Nini and all those amazing Mishima players. And then finally, put one overseas to where King J, the Real Menace, the Main Man, Looney Lily, and Super Kuma all finally have a place they can go and play together in a tournament environment. That is the last key those guys are needing. They have the knowledge, they have the skill. The last key they need is a place where they can all gather. And I'm telling you, those guys would vlog it. They would vlog it. They would also upload their matches, and that would be just something that they need. It's the last key they needed for them to actually be able to practice side by side in that kind of tournament environment, and then they'll refine each other, and maybe we could start finally getting some like killers out of Sweden for the Tekken World Tour and stuff like that. And then you put one in Japan, and finally go rebuild the green room like this, the way it should be, so that those guys can be rewarded for all the good they've done for Tekken over the years. And then also what I would do if I had the money is I would go to Pakistan, and for free I would go to the best arcade that they the most used arcade, and would redo the entire thing for free with all new equipment as a thank you from the rest of the world, showing how viable that that they showed the world that arcades are not dead and they're viable and people want that stuff. And then also what I would do is, now that those spots are all over the world, is you actually have a place where the Tekken World Tour can actually make stops at those arcades. And think about the hype that it would bring, having them marked on the calendar at those places, knowing the Tekken World Tour is coming, and everybody in those towns would start flocking to those places. Or, you could do it at those places or in that same town, and there'll be more people that'll join in the Tekken World Tour. After they leave, people will go home, practice, it'll just produce more hype, the game will keep getting sold. Yeah, and it'll just keep bringing people together and, making arcades. Okay, and if I was like pitching this, and then I heard something, and then somebody would bring up like the argument of, well, Jeremy, why would anybody go to an arcade when they could go home and play it for free? Okay, listen, you need to stop thinking like that. First, you have to understand people and the psychology of people, and then the money comes after. First, understand people, because like when it was first said something like, we're going to start bottling water and selling it at a gas station beside Mountain Dew, Cokes, and Pepsi. People are like, that's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard of. Why would anybody buy a bottled water when you could get it out of water fountains for free? You could go home and get it out of your sink for free, right? And yet, here we are. Now they put it in fancy bottles and people will spend $7 on a fucking bottle of water. Hey, dumb fuck. It's water. Yeah, but I can taste the difference. There is no fucking taste. It's water. No, I can taste the minerals in the other water. I'm going to leave because I can hear my brain cells screaming as they're dying right now, talking to you. I'm out of here. But yeah, here we are. And then when they said things like, we're going to make a place that only sells coffee, and we're going to make it a chain around the world. It's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard of. Everybody makes their own coffee in the morning. Why would you go to a store to buy coffee when everybody makes it first thing in the fucking morning? And yet here we are. I walk into Target, I look to my left, and there's a Starbucks. Understand people. This will work. People want it. But the design has to be redone in a way that makes sense. So yeah, I wanted to keep this short and sweet. I hope if I had the money, I would invest in this, but I hope whoever hears this and can make this happen, get on it. If you know people to make it happen, spread this word and get it to the right people. Let's bring the arcades back because we all want it and I want it. And let's start bringing everybody back together. So fuck off, stoners.